They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Program to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are mourn, just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of all nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Tonight on Rogueways, I'm especially excited to host a neighbor and a fellow traveler of the path who has been rocking minds and hearts with the truth that is taboo and forbidden in this increasingly repressive and oppressive society in which we find ourselves thriving despite their attempts to hold us back. Someone who holds the light in the dark, finds the ways that were once lost, and recalls us to our progression through the unfolding universe. Chris of Forbidden Knowledge News is here, and we are so excited. Chris, welcome to Rogueways, and how are you doing tonight?
Lindsay, thank you so much. Man, that was a heck of an intro. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. There's so many people in the chat already. What's up to all the people on Rockfin especially? We love the YouTube people, but if you want to come over, there's way more people in the Rockfin chat. And I do want to just give a shout out to everybody out there who listens and supports and subscribes and shares the content and finds ways to be interactive and be a part of this community. You guys you make the dream real, and I love you so much and thank you so much. In fact, we were just talking about, Chris and I both, about how much we love being able to be here with you guys. So, I'm sure we're both sending out that gratitude and love to you. And if you want to find more content from me, go to rogueways.org. There's readings, blessings, spiritual support of all sorts of kinds of ways, and books and orgone pendants and all kinds of things. Just go check it out. It's a fun place to be. And Chris, for the pointless question of the episode, I was going to ask you what your favorite ways to spend time in nature are, because I saw that you've been spending a lot of time in nature.
Since I've been to Colorado, going out to the mountains, going for a hike, once I reach my goal or the top of a mountain, sitting there doing some meditation, that is like tits for me. That is it. It's amazing.
That is the best. I love that same, and I feel like so many people just go hike, and it's like a task. They're like outfitted for it. They're like go, and they get there and they're like cool, and then they turn around and leave, and I'm like,
right.
chill. This is like,
oh yeah, it's so beautiful out here. You got to take it in,
So beautiful. We're so lucky. What was it before Colorado?
It was swampy Louisiana, which was not quite as beautiful, and it really didn't mesh with who I was. And I found right when I got out west, it was like the air's different, everything feels different. Not necessarily the people, but just the land and everything else surrounding it. The atmosphere is wonderful. Right in the west, Colorado, this area is where I'm supposed to be, I believe.
I agree, me too. I love the Northwest, which is where I'm from. It's the opposite swampiness from Louisiana. It's the cold swampy.
Yeah.
So is Louisiana...
I was just ready to get out of there, man.
Is that where you grew up?
It is. I was born and raised, and then I lived 10 years in Florida with a bad marriage. So Florida for me was awful as it is, and with a bad marriage, it was even worse. Yeah. So ended up coming back to Louisiana, doing the normal, everyday job thing. I was a manager at a UPS store, ended up working for a corporate cell phone company for a long time, and just got stuck in that rut in swampy Louisiana. And it was not cool for a while, but kind of crawled my way out of there.
It's so I loved the South when I went. I was actually much more awesome than I expected, and I was there at the right time of year, so I get that it's way swampier other times of the year, but it's just harder to be outside there. There's more bugs that are gonna get you. It's nasty, damp, ugh.
And even if it's not that warm, the humidity will get you too. It could be slightly warm, but you'll be walking out for about 5 minutes, you'll be soaked. Your underwear's all wet. What happened?
Yeah, that's just awful. And there's always something about nature and being outside that's gonna challenge you some way, but I just feel like there's more over there.
There's definitely more, yes. The bugs are not fun.
And when I moved here, I noticed that people are just ridiculously nice, and that is just not true in Seattle or the Northwest at all. And so, but it sounds like people are kind of similar out west or out east, I should say, southeast.
Yes. Yeah. It's a mixed bag. In Florida, I was in a touristy area, so it was very little culture and just not. It was a mix of a different bunch of different people. It's a Disney-ish area,
Yeah.
so wasn't it really wasn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Glad you're here. So what? Yeah. Were you always awake and aware and like since childhood, or how did you find
I think
your way?
that I think I was born awake and saw the bullshit and went to sleep. I was like, fuck this. No. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I at a very young age, I knew that everything was screwed up. Nothing, like, it was hard to make friends. School was awful for me because I didn't understand any of the shit that they were trying to teach us. It didn't make sense. I questioned everything. Always got in trouble. I was, ran in with the bad crowd, of course. And, that's when I guess I kind of went to sleep, as a teenager, started hanging out with the bad crowd, played punk rock music, a bunch of degenerate kids that would be doing drugs and drinking a lot. And that's when I kind of shut off from like late teenage years all the way through my 20s, pretty much. I married a high school sweetheart during those wonderful drug-infused rock and roll days, which was probably not a good idea.
It's always good to pick a wife when you're really high.
No, okay. But, I figured since we grew up together, hey, it'd work out. We're best friends. But no, it didn't. We moved to Florida, and Florida was even worse for me than here. I didn't have any friends out there. Ended up, jumping around to some horrible jobs, and just stayed asleep. Didn't just want to do the
get by
date and buy life, still medicating myself with drugs and alcohol because life sucked, basically, because I didn't understand any of it and I wasn't happy with my situation, and I really wasn't trying to get out of it at the time, until something just kind of pushed me, and I was just so miserable with my situation and my current spouse. We weren't getting along at all, and I knew it wasn't good for either of us, and she wasn't going to make the move to split, so I decided, we needed to split. This is not working. I moved back to Louisiana. She moves back, and that's when things started to get a little different for me, and I started to become a little bit more spiritual and get a little bit more healthy and take care of myself a little bit more. And when I started doing that, I started kind of seeing bullshit again and getting angry. I started looking into things and researching things. And that's when I just decided to start, hey, let me start this Facebook page and get this information that I'm finding out there. Maybe someone else will find it interesting. And I just started posting random articles and blogs and stuff on Facebook, and people found it interesting. So I was like, cool, let me talk to people who are smarter than me and get some more information out there. So I decided to start a YouTube channel and start doing interviews. And that eventually led to podcast, and I never expected anything to come out of it. I started to talk to some of the most amazing people on the planet, people I never thought I'd be able to speak with, some of my favorite researchers that I've been reading their books and listening to their podcasts and watching their shows on TV. Is some of the most amazing people on the planet that I so honored to speak with, and they were just happy to come on the show, and it was amazing. It's amazing how quick it grew and how much people enjoyed it, and I'm very thankful for that. And it just kind of took off from there. But like that whole time, I had never had any, I guess, unexplained experiences or paranormal experiences. I knew in my heart that there's something else out there. I knew that there's something going on. When it came to like extraterrestrials and stuff, I always I lean towards nuts and bolts type things, but I considered the spiritual and consciousness aspect that it could be something that we really don't understand at all. But I would kind of considered both. I was exploring different types of spirituality at the time, and I decided to, start meditating and stuff, but I couldn't get far at all. And then I fell into another pretty bad relationship. It actually turned into a stalker situation, which was kind of terrifying. Yeah, but the show started doing well, and I was in this other bad relationship, and then I realized, oh, she may be a little crazy. So a few months later, I had to get restraining order, and it was bad time. And I decided, you know what? I'm starting to kind of feel bad again. I don't want to fall into anything else. Let me ramp up this meditation, do something. And I realized that the reason I couldn't go far in meditation was because I had this childhood dogma, grew up Catholic, and there was like this fear of, oh, you're going to talk to a demon if you go too far or something, you know? I
Right.
don't know. There was something there that was keeping me from doing it.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, it was just an all around kind of bummer of a time dealing with this restraining order. And I'm sitting outside and I look up in the sky, and I had just, started getting a little better at the meditation. Still couldn't go very deep, but I'm looking out at the sky and I see these 3 bright orange flames in a triangular formation, slowly just going straight up. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
That's
Look
not
at
normal.
that. Yeah, so I'm just watching it slowly go up, and I'm like, I wonder what that is. And it just stopped, and I'm like, oh. And then it just stopped for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then shot off and was gone. I don't know what happened. It was like instantly just shot up and was disappeared. It's like, that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna say that was UFO, but that was something pretty cool I've never seen before. I can't explain what the hell that was.
And it coincided
So,
with your meditation.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did. It did. And I decided, right after that to go and try and do some more meditation. And I was like, man, let's go deep. Because I could feel myself in the times before almost just falling into that state where you just lose it and you can let yourself go and explore, these other meditative realms. But I could never get there. But this time I did. I had put on some 432 hertz tones, I believe, and I was just in the bed. And I fell deep, and that's when it happened. That's when I had my my first, I guess you could say, contact experience.
Wow.
And it changed everything for me because it changed the way I think about UFOs, aliens, consciousness, spirituality, what people are actually communicating with, what it is. And I honestly have no idea. I don't know, but I have a better idea now than when it first happened.
Yeah, direct experience has got to be the best guess that
Yes.
we have,
Yeah. So if you want, I can tell you a little bit about the experience.
Absolutely, yes, please.
Yeah, so I'm meditating, and I can just feel everything let go, and I feel like this peace wash over me, and I guess you could call the right peripheral side of my subconscious vision, this blue light gets closer and closer to me, and the closer it gets, I feel like this immense love and acceptance, like nothing I've ever felt before. I love my mom, I love my dad, I thought I loved my ex-wife, all these things we feel. It's nothing compared to this. This was like a drug. This is like something washed over me, like, oh my god, wow. And as this light got closer, I kind of, it's like I hear a voice, but it's not really a voice. It's like a psychic communication, and it says hello, and I say hello. I was like, "What's going on here?" It's like, this isn't me, and I got really scared, and I jumped to that childhood religious dogma, and I was like, "In the name of Christ, are you good?" And he's like, yes.
You're like,
I was like,
"Whew."
okay, that's
This
good.
This is a great everybody listening can take this, because you can use this no matter what realm you're in and no matter what you're encountering, and ask them that exact question, and they will answer you, and they will be the truth. So that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. He immediately said yes. And I was like, oh, okay, I think that's okay. I think that's good. And I was like, I asked, do you have a name? He's like, you wouldn't understand. Let's just call me something you're
I love
comfortable
that.
with.
Call me Bob.
I was like, okay, I was just thinking through names. He's like, Laird. I was like, oh, that's my cousin's name. I used to love that name. He's like, just call me that. He's like, okay, so that's fine. I'll call you Laird. So I was like, well, this is crazy. I'm talking to something. This is not me. This is not me. It's like, so, should we have a conversation? What's going on? I love this feeling. I love being able to communicate like this. I've never done this. This feels amazing. He's like, I know, it's great. He's like, I'm talking to you now because it's time for me to. The rest of this, it was about an hour and a half experience, was kind of blurry, but I had a conversation with this being, and for the first few minutes I'm laying down, and I don't know why, I'm like, oh, I gotta pee, and I just jump up and snap out of it, and I'm like, wait, oh no, it's gone, but I still feel like this love, and I'm like, whoa, I still feel, and everything's kind of like shimmery around me, like, whoa, this is still weird. He's like, I'm still here. I'm like, oh, okay. So I get up and I'm like going pee, talking to this thing, and he's like, I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And he's like, yes, I know. He's like, there's some things we have to talk about, and just have a seat when you're ready. And I'm like, okay. So I went sit down, and I said that it seems like some of the things you're going to tell me I might not like. He's like, maybe not, but you need to hear them. And we just kind of went into this thing about basically the future of our planet, and how it's going to get pretty bad. I have to be spiritually prepared, and that I'm doing my job right now, and I have to keep doing it. Never, don't stop, what I'm doing right now, because I'm on the path, and I have to keep exploring that, as well as other I guess, spiritual avenues to keep increasing this awareness. So it was just an amazing conversation, filled with kind of scary warnings about our future, and saying that I'm doing my part. This is a collective effort that we need to make on the planet, and your part is helping people realize that they need to be part of that effort. And it was an amazing, it's like almost about almost 2 hours, I think. And it just started to fade away. I was like, it's hard to communicate with you now. He's like, yeah, it's the connection's fading, but I'll be back later if you want to talk. And I was like, yeah, okay, that was great. That was just awesome. And I was crying the whole time, because this was just something that I didn't believe. I didn't believe it was possible, and it just changed everything for me. But I was still doubtful. I was still like, man, maybe I just had an acid flashback. What's going on?
Yes, I love that.
I was still doubting. I was still like, I don't know. Let me talk to some experiencers. So I started calling up a bunch of my experiencer friends, getting their opinions, just a bunch of different people that I knew would be honest with me and tell me, what their insights would be. By the next morning I woke up, I was just confused about everything. I was kind of like, man, did that really happen? I don't know. But my whole paradigm was kind of shattered, and I was like, I need to experience this again. I really need to do this again. And like the next day I tried meditating, but I think I was forcing it too much, and it didn't work. I was a little frustrated while trying to do it. So I was like, screw this. I waited a couple more days, and I tried it again. And this time, like, this voice in my head, as I was kind of going into state, said, go lay down in the bathtub. Water's like a conduit. I'm like, okay, all right. So I went lay down in the bathtub, and I put on the 432 hertz tones, and ooh, I sunk real fast, real deep. I started going through this, like, it was like some kind of portal in my mind, like time and space started flying by me. I started getting strange, like, amazing downloads. Like I could geometry, mathematics, all these things were flooding into my brain. I'm like, what is going on? I felt like I knew everything at the same time, but I couldn't decipher anything. And then everything just turned to pure white light, and it was just darkness, and but peace. Like, I felt peaceful, and all of a sudden, this it was like on the other side of my vision, this white light starts to come, envelops me, and I'm in this. My conscious goes to this childhood memory. I immediately remember I'm in a childhood family friend's house. I'm walking to their bedroom, and it showed me this traumatic event that happened when I was a child that I blocked out.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa. So I snapped out of the meditation because I was freaked out. I was like, what is this? I was like, I just remembered this, and that's crazy. And all of a sudden, the peace and love wash over me. I feel this blue kind of presence in my mind, and it's Laird, my friend again. He's like, yeah. He's like, you needed to remember that to move forward in your journey. Had another conversation, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy. I want to find out more about what you are and who you are and all these things. And it was this is the part where things got pretty strange. It's very hazy at this point, but I still remember bits and pieces. And before I tell you this, I have to preface it by I have a completely different understanding of what happened during this and who this entity is now than I did at the time and for weeks after. But I think I may have figured out a little bit. Now, I'm in this meditative state in my tub. This being is talking to me. I was like, I want to know more about you. Who are you? And he says, well, we try to awaken Christ consciousness across the universe. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And he's
I want
like,
that job.
just relax.
Oh, wait, we
he's
have
like,
that job.
he's like, just relax. And like, in my mind's eye, I could see space. Like I could see stars. I could see like this blue paneling. Looked like I was on a ship, honestly. Looked like I was on a ship looking out into the stars. And I would open my eyes in the tub and I could see my bathroom, but everything has this strange shimmer to it. I close my eyes, I'm back on this ship. And all of a sudden, these like etheric entities start slowly manifesting around me, and as they come up, this love is like pounding me. It's like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And the more of them appear, they're very strange looking. Some look like animals, some look like amphibian. Like, it's very strange. I can't explain what is happening to me now. These are like strange etheric spirits of like beings, and they're appearing all around me and emanating this love. And they said, we just want to welcome you. This is who we are. This is what we do. And the rest is a real blur. I was crying. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I can't believe this is happening. And they said, you know, do you accept your task? Something like they asked if I accepted to do something. And I said, yes. And I was like, it couldn't have been bad, because it was an amazing conversation that I was having with all these entities, and it was along the lines of what the previous conversation was. And I was like, well, can I go back anytime? What's going on? And they're like, yeah, you can go back anytime, and if you ever want to talk to us again, we're always here. So the next thing I know, I just kind of feel everything, this like light feeling in my chest kind of fade, and I'm back in the water. Everything's going back to normal. And I kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, all right, that was pretty undeniable. That was crazy. I think that that was a real experience. But I still had my doubts. I still was like, I don't know though. It's like that was the most intense thing I've ever experienced. So I had to go for a drive and kind of just clear my mind. And the whole time I'm driving around, I feel like this information coming in, just flowing in, downloads of what am I supposed to do next? Look into this, look at that, do this, read this book, do this. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. So I end up going back, and I just pass out I was exhausted. Go home and pass out. And this was like mid-afternoon. I sleep all through the night. And the next day, I was like, I feel good. Everything's great. But I have stomach problems from previous. I've had my gallbladder removed. It was a pretty bad thing. The surgeons wanted to take it out just for money, basically. So it was like, yeah. So I have all this pain from my gallbladder occasionally when I eat the wrong thing. So that day I was like, you know what? Let me eat a pizza. I haven't had one in a long time. My dumb ass goes get a pizza. I ate the pizza, and all of a sudden, just instant pain. Like, I couldn't believe it was awful. I'm bedridden. I'm like, oh no, I had so much stuff to do. I'm gonna be, in bed all night because I screwed myself. And I'm like, you know what? Let's try something. Hey guys, I'm like going into a meditative state. I put on my tones. I call out, and eventually, my friend appears, and he's like, you're wanting to feel better, you're wanting to be healed, you can do that yourself. Just letting you know.
By the way, you don't need to call me.
Yeah. He's like, I was like, oh, okay, well, I could use some help. And Lindsay, this is crazy. I tell you, instantly, like, this love got so intense all over me, and it was gone. Just that the pain was gone. The nausea was gone, and I've never been able to just get rid of it like that. And instantly, I was like, oh, thank you. This is definitely something, I have to look into. So that was it. It was like a week-long experience, but it changed everything for me.
for real. Like that's, I'm sure, an understatement. It's really funny in moments like that that you're describing when they're all around you. Like I look back at similar experiences I've had, and I'm like, man, I'm like a little child to them. I was like, hey, hi guys, and they're like, they're probably like, oh, she's so sweet. Like, but how are you supposed to respond? You're like, this is life changing and completely different from anything we're supposed to be told, or like, you know, what we should have expected, or how else would you act? Like.
Yeah, exactly. And for the longest time, I'm thinking, man, I got abducted by aliens. I was with the Galactic Federation. This is crazy. You know, that's what I thought. But no, I don't think that anymore. The more people I talk to, the more I look into it. I think I was speaking with my guides. I think I was speaking with my spirit guides and my higher self, which was layered. That's what I've come to understand, basically.
I love that. That is, you know, because I often think about, like, is this psychological, is it spiritual, or is it emotional? Like, am I talking to actually another being, or am I talking to some other aspect of myself? Am I talking to, like, an actual eagle, or am I talking to, like, the spirit of all eagles? Or, like, you know, like, what is this thing? Or is it just, like, the collection of energies that I most closely understand as being eagle-like, you know? And then I finally get to the point where I'm like, it's all of those things. They're all the same thing, right?
Yes, it's all connected, all the same, exactly right.
Yeah, so randomly, does that make you feel like you have any hints or ideas about where you land on the flat Earth, globe Earth, like hologram, like what's going on here?
You know what? I still need to have that flat Earth, globe Earth debate on my show. That would be amazing. But I don't know. That's a tough one.
It's hard.
I think that we're being completely lied to about space, for sure.
That's true.
I don't think that space is anything that what they're telling us. I don't even think we really went to the moon, honestly. I'm not going to say that the Earth's flat. We could be in some kind of realm, some kind of simulated reality where it's all ones and zeros, it's all energy. I don't know. That's what I kind of lean towards, that, you know, nothing's really real. It's all just some kind of projection for us, you know?
Yeah. And in that way, I could see how it could be like a trap, but I still think we chose to come here.
Yes, yeah.
Do you still talk with Laird and all of the guides? Is that something you do regularly, or was that like then and this is now? Or?
No, when I came to my understanding that this is me, this is part of me, if I'm having like a really tough time, I'll reach out, you know, and I'll just to feel this, but I don't need to anymore. I have all this understanding. I'm doing the work on my own, which I'm supposed to do, so I don't have to seek out this contact unless, you know, it's a crisis or something, but, you know, I haven't had to. But I do tell you one thing. I do like doing a little magic mushroom experimentation every once in a while, and now every time they will show up when I'm doing my mushrooms, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is why people are like, hey, let's like smoke weed. I'm like, no. No, I'm good. I don't need to be like talking to entities in the corner while you guys are all hanging out. Like,
oh yeah, they definitely like to show up when I have my mushrooms.
Yeah, well, and I love, you know, something that I notice about your experience is that a lot of the elements of it, like you said, there's this programming, this indoctrination we go through to fear everything, basically, which is a nice trap in itself. That's the main trap. But, you know, they, them, the powers that be, they use all of this symbolism, this imagery, and these experiences to actually initiate people into sort of like the other side, right? You can reach out to your higher self, your inner self, your guides, and this, you know, light and love and all of this, or you can reach out to your darkest self and your lowest self and your most debased self and those energies and entities too. And they use the bathtub to do that, right? And they have that symbolism and all that. So people who are listening to this might be like, holy shit, Chris really is talking to demons. He just doesn't know it because the bathtub ritual is an evil ritual. And so what do you have to say to people who might see things that way?
I have to say that I think that water's just a conduit. I think that the experience itself speaks volumes. I think that if you're feeling love, if you ask these entities in the name of Christ, are you good? And they respond yes immediately, I don't think I have anything to worry about. They gained my trust immediately. And I think that I gained what I was supposed to from the experience. I gained understanding from it. it's not like I'm seeking those entities every day to do voodoo rituals
Yeah.
and put curses on people. And, oh, now I got $1 million from my podcast because I've been talking to demons in a bathtub. No, I'm barely scraping by,
Yeah.
but, you know, life's good.
It's like they say, you'll know them by their fruits, right? And people
Yes.
often ask me too, like, well, how do I know if this experience I'm having is good or bad? And I'm like, well, how do you feel? What is the result? Is it good? It's probably good.
It changed my life so much for the I mean, I was stuck in swampy Louisiana in a terrible job. I was still doing my day job before this experience happened.
Yeah.
I didn't quit yet. And the show was not shit. You know, I wasn't doing anything with it. It was there, but it wasn't doing anything. And after this experience, I just got a kick in the ass, and boom, everything took off and got wonderful for me. So,
all
you know,
fell together, yeah. Well, and this is the other thing I love about that experience as well, is that you're, you know, called to head a certain direction. And I just think sometimes it gets so glamorized, like, I was called and so I'm important, and like, and you're like, no, I'm just me, but I'm just doing this work and I'm doing it like this, like, that's
I just realized that I was screwing myself over and didn't want to do that anymore. You know, I wanted a better life for myself. I don't think that's wrong.
No. And you realize that you're a spiritual being and that you have this ability to help other people see the spiritual truth of the world too. And that is a beautiful thing, but it doesn't make you like this guru or this like God or this like.
I always, please don't listen to me. Always do your own research. Just, you know, if I'm intriguing, cool, you know, just please don't take anything I say to heart. Do your own research. I am no way a guru.
Yes. And I just think so many people who have these experiences, they take it there almost immediately. They're like, I am chosen and I am special. And it's like, you are chosen and special, but you are one of many, many chosen special people.
That was one of the main messages this entity, you know, made sure to relay in our conversation, that this is a collective. You shouldn't feel like any kind of, you know, just like what you were saying, get any ego about any of this. This is your tiny part in a collective job.
Which is beautiful and special, and it is awesome, and it is you, and it's great. But yes, I love that. I love the refreshing, you know, view of not having someone who has experienced these things and doesn't take it to that egotistical place is very nice.
Yeah, I love doing my job. I love talking to people. I love bringing knowledge to people. I love sharing information with people. And I love it getting a comment that says, hey, you know, thank you for doing this show. I really learned something, and, you know, I appreciate it. That makes my day, you know?
That's what it's all about. Yeah. And I love, too, that you're talking about that doubt you have, right? Because I think humans do this, or humans who are skeptical at least, which is most of us here in this community, do this, where we like have an experience, and it could be like as extreme and crazy, awesome, and immersive and life-changing as yours, or it could even be something like when you saw the lights, right? Where it's a little bit like, what is that? What's going on? That doubt that you have where you're like, well, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe it's an acid flashback, like you said. Maybe it's like you have to go through all of these like possibilities because you have to convince yourself, right? We're always rationalizing like what is actually happening, and honestly that makes me trust it more. Right? If you were just like, yep, this happened and I never questioned it, I'd be like,
Oh yeah, I did. I spent months and months pondering and trying to figure out what happened and talking to people and getting a better understanding until I just came to this, and I still don't know. I don't know for sure what it is. I have no idea, but I think I might understand a little more when I first did.
Yes. You have a pretty deep understanding, really. And that feeling too, you know, that you describe of maybe you weren't saying it this way. You tell me of that coming back from that and then like looking at the world and being like, oh, this all kind of sucks actually. Like that was really cool.
It was, well, yeah, because it felt like you're on this amazing, like, I mean, it feels like a drug. It feels like this love drug that you've never felt before. Like this love is so intense. It's unearthly, really. And then when it fades away, it's like, oh, you know?
Like, I'm just live there, like.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you're here for a reason.
Right.
And I had the same message given to me, you know, about the issues with the world, and I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time sharing it with people because I don't want to make it sound like I know for sure or that I'm making predictions, because I understand the fluidity of the future. But how do you deal with that?
Well, I just know that, just like you said, the future's malleable. We create it. We can make it better if we want to. And I think that if we're putting enough positive energy out there, we're doing our part, we're not worrying about some of these bad things. We're just, focusing on what we have to do in the good. I don't think we have anything to worry about, really.
I love that. And
Yeah.
were you given dates?
No.
Okay. It was.
I was not given dates. It was a kind of urgency, a sense of urgency.
Get your shit together, guys. It's time.
Yeah. We need to, put some fire under our asses.
Well, and I love that simplicity of that truth too. That your goal is to be here and to be holding that Christ consciousness, or that energy of love, or whatever truth, whatever you want to call this, as much as possible, and then just living. Like you don't have to go out and try and crusade or like restructure the world or force people to like hear the message. Just living your life with that consciousness, with that intention, really is more than enough, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's really, people don't understand the power of positivity, positive thinking, doing the right thing, treating people, just, all these things that people are like, oh, really, yes, that will make your life amazing. That'll bring back this amazing positive energy to you. If you are, if you take the first step towards a goal, towards something you want, and you're doing it the right way, the universe will take that step and second step for you, and keep going that way. That's really the way it works. You put that energy back out there, and it comes back to you, and you can manifest what you want in your life if you just try. It's amazing.
It's pretty rad, yeah. And that healing too, like you said, you can manifest healing for yourself. And I want more people to think about this and understand this. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. I often have to continue healing myself. But that idea that you really can make whatever you want of your life. I think the hardest part when you really understand that is then deciding, like, well, then what do I want? Like what exactly do I want?
And I figured, one of the biggest blocks in that is negativity or doubt. If you're doubting that you're not going to be able to do that, or, you're in a bad place, it's not going to happen. It's like that energy gets blocked and it can't come back and manifest anything for you. So you have to stay in this kind of positive state of mind, which it was hard to kind of realize that. But for me, once I got into this kind of mode where I realized, oh, you're thinking shitty, you gotta stop, slap yourself a little bit. And I did that for a while, and it's easier to catch yourself now thinking stupid negative thoughts that aren't necessary, like being stuck in traffic and getting angry at somebody, all these little things,
Yeah, because they're really habits. They're habits we were trained into, and a lot of them when we were young, and like you were talking about, checked out and just like, I can't deal with this crap. Like, Then we're picking up even more bad habits, and then we get to that point where we want to stop having those bad habits, and it is harder, but like you said, the more you do it, the more you go on. And part of that, I think, is why meditation is so important. Whatever way people choose to do, there's 10 billion ways of meditating. Whatever way you choose to do it, I think that's part of why it's so important, is because you're giving that much conscious energy to this intention that you are creating, a more positive and a more clear version of yourself, and that you're heading that direction instead of the other way.
Definitely. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I am by no means not all love and light.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance in everything. I get extremely pissed, especially right now, I'm extremely pissed off at a lot of members of our society for going along with this COVID bullshit and still going along with the narrative, still getting their vaccines, still putting their masks on at the store. I'm pissed at those people. I think those people need a punch in the face. But I think there's a duality to everything, and I think there's times where you need to get angry at people,
Yeah, there's a necessity for that. This is one of the things that's most lacking in the entire, like, love and light delusional community, is this idea that you can't ever be angry. It's a sin. It's bad negative thinking. And you're like, well, what if someone's running up to you and just like hitting you in the face? Are you just gonna stand there and like at them, or are you gonna stop them? Like, you're allowed to have boundaries. You should have boundaries.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really just kind of ticks me off more than anything these days, is the ignorance and stupidity of people that are just going along with the narratives. It's awful.
On every side of things, right? It's like on the people you described, the masks and the vaccines, but also the people with the the love and the light and the whatever. There's from every angle. There's people who just like blindly sort of immerse themselves in this delusion and don't think and don't question and don't really like stay present with themselves, and it is sad.
It is. But, just like we were talking about earlier, you got to push past that too, and even though it's hard, and just do your part to kind of get as much information as possible, and hopefully somebody will pick up on it.
Yes. Yeah, share it out. I also wanted to touch on that idea that you were saying of forcing the meditation the next day, where you were like, well, I need to go back, I need more, and it was like maybe too soon or too much, or this forcing it and this like being too attached to it, I think is important, because a lot of people who start to get into this any kind of spiritual practice, it's like they get like that taste of it. It's almost like you like beginner's luck. You're going to be rewarded when you start with some sort of an experience, and then but becoming like attached to that is actually negative. Like it detracts from it, and it actually can reduce the level and the immersion of your experience, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think that's why I didn't kind of go chasing after it all the time after that. I just kind of explored it and learned about it, instead of just going to jump into something that I really didn't understand and keep going after that,
Yeah, that's very smart, very wise. And the other last thing that I wanted to touch on in that experience is that trauma experience that you had that recall of, because another thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand or think about is that when you go into any sort of spiritual path work for yourself, whatever that might look like, you're probably going to encounter things like that. It's going to hurt. It's going to be work, and it's going to be hard. But were you expecting that, or was that just totally by surprise? Like,
no, I was not, and it kind of changed a lot of things. It changed a lot of the ways that I look at the friends of my family, my own family, my childhood, and the way that I grew up and everything surrounding it. Changed everything, and I was able to kind of look at things from that angle and figure out a lot about myself just from remembering that one experience.
So important. We cannot live a life that is whole if we have parts of ourselves that are cut off and ignored and cast away, and we do it automatically. Like that's.
And
what
I'm sure
trauma
there's
does.
a lot more that I've blocked out that may come back in the future. I'm sure that's not the only thing.
Yeah, it could be. I know. I don't. And I think like until you've reached like enlightenment, whatever that might be, you probably have some trauma or some things that need healing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. And so, have you had other weird experiences like with outside of that type of experience?
The experience I've had since then, besides having mushrooms and them kind of showing up for a little conversation, is mainly just strange manifestation things, being in need of something and respectfully asking and then receiving that, almost instantly. Things of that nature are pretty strange, but I've become very grateful for it. And it happens quite often. As long as I'm staying in that positive mindset, things happen, and good things. And it's quite often, and it's to the point where it's like, man, this is kind of creepy sometimes, but it's good. I like it, Yeah, but just things like that. No other paranormal experiences. I have yet to see any more. Oh, no, I take that back. When in Laughlin, when I was at the UFO conference, we saw some amazing UFOs with the night vision goggles.
Oh, yeah.
100% sure that's ours. They were all like TR3s and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to see like our Space Force stuff up there. But again, are they actually in space, or are they just right at the edge there? I don't know, but they're there. We saw some, we saw satellites and stuff, but we also saw some triangle craft and things that shouldn't be up there. So that was pretty cool. Nothing like unexplainable. We all pretty much agreed, yeah, that's our tech up there somehow. But other than that, no other paranormal experiences or anything of that nature.
Well, have you ever tried to interact with any of these UFOs like psychically, like you would?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet. No, I don't know. Maybe one time, because I'll be attending a few conferences upcoming, and they'll have those sky watches. So we'll see. Maybe I might say hello and see what happens.
Because I feel like you can tell, like you said, the ones that you're like, yeah, no, that's nuts and bolts, that's human, that's what it's advanced, but it's human. But then you can also tell kind of the ones that aren't, and you can be like, hey, what are you doing over there? Like,
right,
how's
yeah,
it
and
going?
the ones that aren't, I've seen videos of. I've never seen it personally, but those are the ones that can appear here and boop, appear here, change different colors, make beautiful light shows, all these things. And honestly, I don't think that's a nuts and bolts craft. I don't even know. I'm more of the view that it may be some sort of projection from some grand consciousness. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it definitely seems non-physical, and yet it appears very physical.
Well, because it seems to be very much attached to your consciousness and in line. I was speaking with the head of the Consciousness Research Institute, Ray Hernandez, the other night, and he said that he would go out on these CE5 little expeditions, try and talk to the ships. And he was with a friend who was a complete skeptic, and they saw one. It did a little blinky thing. He thought in his mind, "You better fucking do something else. This guy ain't gonna believe that." And right when he thought that, this ship started boo boo, light show, like spinning, all kinds of crazy stuff. He's like, "Yeah, there you
There
go."
we go.
So there's some immediate connection there. And I don't know if it's little green dudes in a little ship.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I don't think so. Yeah, in my experience, there's something spiritual or psychic is the best I can get to what they might actually be, but they're that responsive. They're like instantly responding to your thoughts and energies, and yeah, they can do almost anything.
Yeah, and I have no idea what they are. I don't even know if there's anything there. I think what is it? Maybe it's just a reaction to our consciousness that we're projecting. I don't know.
Yeah, true. It totally could be that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, which is the same idea as those entities that you were interacted with being, some aspect of yourself too.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, it gets deep.
So, any cryptids? No cryptids? Ghosts?
No, I would love to see a cryptid. I would love to see a ghost. We've been out, hiking a bunch of times. We've looked for Bigfoot. But no, I've never seen any cryptids or ghosts or any other paranormal experiences. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. Who knows?
Yeah.
I know me either. Although I'm not sure. It's just like people for sharing your experience or some of my experiences, and people are like, I want that. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
there's good stuff. It's awesome. The love bath is amazing, but there's also other stuff like the trauma recall and healing. Just take it all. Take it all as it comes.
yeah, and it's the whole, I guess, mainstream narrative with UFOs is just, I think, mainly confusing people. It's getting people drawn into the wrong direction. But it takes a while to get to the point to where you and I have this understanding of the phenomenon. It's not what most people think it is.
Yeah.
And when you try to explain it to people, they're like, "No, it's a little gray alien." No, not really. Probably not.
Well, and there's people who do seem to have physical encounters and abductions,
Yes.
but I always lean towards my lab stuff more
Yes.
than actual
Yeah, I'm
aliens.
leaning towards that's probably us in a chicken suit going after
Right.
little kids or something.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I understand those things happen, but I wonder what they are. So what do you think is the main thing that we have that people listening could take now and kind of start to apply or think about in order to head a better direction or the best direction even?
Oh no, you're not asking me for advice. Oh, okay. Take with caution, people. I just think that positivity for me has worked amazingly. Be nice to people, even if people are assholes. Just try to be a little nicer. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm any means all love and light, but be more aware of everything and take better care of yourself. Once I started getting healthy and taking care of myself and getting off drugs and things like that, things got better for me. Health is a big thing for people. It can, once your body's healthy, I think your consciousness can function better, your mind can function better, and you can maybe, reach out and connect to some of these things a little easier if you're healthy. If you're not feeling well all the time, you're not going to even want to try and do any of that stuff. You're not going to want to try and better yourself. So that was a big thing for me. And as far as meditation goes, I know it's not for everyone. It wasn't for me for the longest time. But for another thing for me was fear. Fear was holding me back. I had to lose a lot of childhood dogma and fear when it came to that. And I guess that's the main things that I can tell people. Don't be afraid to explore these things. If you have the right intention, if you do the right things, ask the right question. Ask if they're if in the name of Jesus Christ, if you're good. I'm pretty sure that works. It and base your feelings and the outcome is off of the experience. If it's a good experience, it's probably good. These probably aren't demons trying to suck out your soul and get you to do Illuminati rituals. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the best advice that I can give people.
Yeah, and it's hard too because the fear thing, you're like, don't. The fear will block you, and at the same time, if something approaches you and it feels horrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tell it to get out, to go away.
See, I've never felt that, so I don't know what that's like. But I would imagine you'd want to get the fuck out.
Yes. And you could do the same trick though. Are you here in the name of Jesus Christ and then like for my highest good, or are you good or what? And it'll be like nope, or it'll not answer at all.
Yeah.
Which is even worse. Just get rid of it.
That's what I've heard.
You still don't need to fear though, right? There's still no point in fearing because
there is no point.
Like ultimate, and you have all these allies. Like if you didn't know, you could ask for these friends
That's
of
right.
Chris's
You
to come
have-
show up.
You have all the power in the universe against these things. The negative entities, I doubt they have anything that could come
Nothing.
close to the power you have.
Right, it's just like the evil in this world. They have to convince you that they
That's
do.
right.
They have to convince
right.
you that you're like, oh no, I'm helpless, and they're like, that's right, you are. Let me feed off this. But if you're like, no, I'm not, get out. They're like, shit. Damn it. Like,
Yes.
she knows.
Yeah, you can't see through their bullshit.
And that I love that health piece too because it's hard. We all want pizza, obviously.
I know. I want pizza right now.
Yes, I never don't want pizza. Beer was nice before it, but it's really true that, like you said, the clearer you get your health and the clearer you get the things that you're taking into your body, the clearer everything is. Your mind, your emotions, all of it, your soul, it's all clearer because it's all tied together. Things are happening at every level, and you can't just separate that out and just pile in the garbage and expect things to go well.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point.
Well, let me ask you something, Lindsay. With everything that's coming back up with the new mask mandates and all the COVID, not the Delta variant, all these things that are happening now. I mean, I've seen some encouraging things around my area of people kind of not going along with it. Are you seeing the same things? You think the majority of people are going to go along with this anymore?
It was weird because the first, I have a hard time with time, but recently when it seemed like it was like the first day that they had kind of started pushing it again, like you're going to have to mask up again and you're going to have to do this, even though they weren't saying you have to and bringing back the mandates, it was like the messaging had changed back to masking. I feel like that day and the next day I saw a bunch more people wearing masks and I was like, oh God, it's working again, like why? But since then, I've seen a lot less people wearing masks, so I feel like something broke and people really are more like, no, I'm just not. I'm not even going to talk to anyone about it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just not going to do it. And I liked your story, actually, that I think you told before we even started, if you want to share that with people.
Which one?
With
You're
the
gonna have to
greeter,
remember.
the greeter guy.
Oh yeah. I'm going shopping at a local grocery store, and they have an older gentleman that's a greeter at the front of the store, and his job is to tell everybody to mask up as they walk in the store. Well, it's a beautiful thing. Like you said, felt kind of bad for the guy, but everybody that was walking just ignored him. Just nope. And he understood. He was like, yeah, I get it. So that was a very encouraging sign to see a lot of people just not going along with that.
That's really awesome. And I was even thinking the other day, I was like, I'm not doing it again. I didn't do it the first time, but I also didn't go into stores that were forceful about it. So I had a different life than now I'm able to go into anywhere and I like it. So I want to keep doing that. So I was thinking, I'm just going to wear headphones everywhere I go. And I'm not going to hear anybody.
That's a good idea.
I will actually hear them, but I won't hear them. And they won't know that I do hear them because they'll think that I don't. And they'll have to follow me through the entire store as I pick up every single item that I want and get all the way to the checkout. And then if they want to stop me, cool, I'll leave.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a simple resistance, right? Like, I'm just not doing it. I'll smile while I'm not doing it. I'll wave at everyone who's not telling me to put a mask on.
Yeah, I mean, it's tired. People who are in these positions of authority to tell people to wear a mask, they're tired of it. They don't want to do that anymore, and people don't want to wear them anymore. So I think it's a good sign. It's a good and bad sign because they're in a corner right now. They're like, what do we do now? Alien invasion.
Yes, yeah. We'll see what they pull out next.
It'd be funner than this.
I know, I would at least appreciate it a little bit more. It would be less, like, directly negatively impacting people I love, maybe.
Yeah.
But I really wonder if it might be helpful to try and be armed with the sort of, facts that for all of these mandates and laws and blah blah that they're trying to say are real, there's always exceptions and loopholes, and they always center on whether or not it would harm your health to do this thing or not, or whether it would be against your spiritual religious orientation. So if we were to, as a collective, just say to people like, oh no, I'm sorry, it's actually illegal for you to force me to do something against my health. I appreciate that this is the mandate, but there is an exception for health, and it harms my health. And just point that out to people so that the people enforcing it, because they don't want to for the most part, I think. There's some Chads and Karens who are like super excited, but they're, for the most part, I think most of these people are like, it's my job, I have to tell you to wear a mask, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
So if we were to say that, then they too would be armed with that. Like, yes, it's my job and I have to ask you, but I also understand that I can allow you your exception. I don't know.
You have to email me that little phrase there. I'll have to use that.
Yeah, maybe I'll type it up and share it with people, and we can all agree to try that together and inform each other. Because I think the more, like you said, we come with this kindness and this positivity and this, maybe we can find ways through and not let it become as draconian as they, I think, want it to be.
Yeah, and I think you're right about it. Because if you look at the news and they show the negative side, people fighting people over not wearing masks, and people, yelling and all this negative stuff, I think if we approach it in a more positive way, maybe we'll get a little further. Who knows? But, some people still need to be punched in the face.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I was like, oh, try it, man. To try and force me. Like, come fight me, but no one will. So maybe I'll get it this time. So what is your highest hope for what does happen next?
My highest hope for what happens next is that all these elite scumbags will all fall on axes and they will go straight through their heads. That is my highest hope. No, besides that,
I love that hope.
I think that we may be headed in the right direction as a society, as far as kind of understanding that we're being screwed over and we are the enemy, and I'm not sorry, they're the enemy.
They see us as the enemy.
Yes, they see us as the enemy, and this is a war. We're at war right now. It's a psychological war. It's an information war, and it's against us. It is these elite scumbags against the world, against the population. And the more people realize that, the better off we're going to be, because maybe it'll make people want to pick up one of those axes and kill them themselves. I think I'm not a violent person by any means, but we're heading to the point where, sharing information is great. Talking about this stuff is great. Coming on podcasts is wonderful. It lets people know what's going on, but what's the next step? What are you going to do? I mean, I think we need to get out of our houses. I think we need to start showing up in front of some houses. Maybe not violent at first, but who knows what could happen. I think that action needs to be taken at some point before we can see any difference, really.
Yeah, I like the showing up in front of houses, especially if the people that we know for sure are the ones orchestrating, or
right,
at the very least carrying this all out on a global scale.
I mean, we have some good ideas of who people are involved, so
We had this alleged plan isn't the right word. We had this alleged idea that it might be fun for somebody allegedly someday to grab Polis, which is our alleged governor, and just dose him with a bunch of mushrooms and just let him go in the woods. Because no matter what happened after that, he'd have to come back better, right? If he came back.
You would think.
He might not come back.
He might not. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm down. Let's fund it. Let's do it.
This is a non-violent way of dealing with our problem.
That's great.
Yeah, I do like that we do have options that we can take, that are more direct action oriented, but not jumping to violence, and with the goal of just confronting people with their crimes, and just also the non-compliance. And I'm always hopeful, because it seems like more and more people are just doing things like growing a little garden and canning a little bit of food, dehydrating a little bit of food, having some chickens, like learning how to clean water, and just these things that are what I think we need to get off of the drug of the government system, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, the more we get independent and more we can live by ourselves, the better off we're going to be. Like you said, you know, garden, great. I would love to have a garden, and that's one of my next goals, is to be more self-sufficient in that way. But I think that the more self-sufficient we are, the less we need from them. We're going to screw them, you know? We can take back the system.
They can't control us if we control ourselves. So, do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about, or any events, or any...
Oh, okay. So, this weekend, I will be infiltrating, I say infiltrating, not attending, the Ascension Summit.
Ooh.
Because we have a person that I won't say his name, I consider him to be one of the most fraudulent people in ufology. He is, I'll call him Shmori Shmud.
Oh, yeah.
You may know who that is. He's going to be at this conference. I was invited to cover it as press.
Cool.
They have a few other speakers that I'm not very familiar with, but I don't think are as fraudulent as this gentleman. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear what this guy has to say, just as an opposition stance, you know, and to hear what these other speakers have to say. I'm not really going to be covering it for my show. I'm just going to be attending as press because they gave me passes, and I just want to see what some of these guys are. Some of these guys are spreading some information, some disinformation, so I want to see what they have to say. So that'll be fun this weekend. And I will be, you know, posting some snippets about my opinions on some of the speakers and what information they're putting forth, and if anything's good or not. So we've got that coming up. I do have another conference coming up in a couple weeks, but I don't have the information in front of me. And other than that, just August is going to be great for Forbidden Knowledge News with guests. We got some really cool guests coming up, so stay tuned for that.
Well, and the links are all below anywhere people are watching right now, but for the people who listen on podcasts later, where can they go to get all of that information and your show and everything else?
Podcast is on all podcast platforms. Forbidden Knowledge News. On the podcast, we broadcast both of my shows, Forbidden Knowledge News and Beyond Classified, for free. The Beyond Classified episodes are the premium episodes that come out first on Rockfin. We're on Rockfin. That's where you get all of our stuff. You can get Forbidden Knowledge News, you can get Beyond Classified, but everything goes out first on Rockfin for at least a day or two, so you get those episodes first there. We're also on BooTube for now, but we don't put much on there. We can only put the stuff that's allowed on YouTube. We got a lot of stuff that's just snippets because it's considered, it'll be banned. You know, I've already got 2 strikes, I believe, on YouTube as the moment. So we may not even be on there too much longer. We're on Odyssey as well, so Odyssey's amazing. Check us out on Odyssey. So that is our main platforms there, Rockfin, the podcast, and Odyssey.
Did you mean for Forbidden Knowledge News to become the acronym that sounds like fucking?
It's great.
Love it.
I didn't. I love it too. It ended up being that. I saw, wow, that looks like fucking.
Every time I see
cool.
it, I'm like, fucking, oh yeah, Forbidden Knowledge News.
Yeah, it
cool.
ended up being that, and it's kind of a running joke, but I like it.
You gotta give homage to your, like, you know, the dark sides of your past that are actually still a part of who you are anyway.
That's right. Tune in to fucking news.
Right. It's rad. Well, awesome. This has been a really fun chat, and I'm glad your experiences are amazing, and I know will inspire people, because a lot of people, just like I said, get that guru and like holier than thou, or I am really special, or they get very like, oh, it's very difficult to attain this mastery level, and you're like, well, it can be, but like, come on, there's actually like these inroads. And so I love being able to talk with someone who has that realistic, down to earth, you know, not that it's always easy or that anyone can just pop into that, but just that it's accessible and normal people have these experiences. It's really cool.
Yes. Everybody can do it. Anybody can do it.
Yes, so thank you for being you and for being here. And what final thoughts or messages or ideas do you want to leave people with tonight?
Just, you know, try and be your best self. If there's something you want to do, if you feel like there's a calling for you, if you want to help, do it. Don't sit there. Just get up and do it. Just, you know, there's something for everyone. Everyone can do something, and I encourage everybody to do that something. Everybody's feeling that little something down inside that they want to do. Do it. That's my advice.
We need you. That's great advice. Well, fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing, and this has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom according to the traverser of the forbidden, Chris. Chris, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome.
Thanks. And infinite heights call you to soar, infinite depths call you to dive, and infinite potential knows you inside and out, has weighed and measured you, and sees that you know no bounds. You are sometimes broken and scarred, but you found the cracks, let the light in, and healed in patterns of strength and beauty. You were sometimes lost and afraid, but you found the path always stretched out before you, and you were never alone. And you are always cradled in the bosom of unending love, and you always will be. So never hesitate to travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Domestic terrorists.
They're not wearing masks.
Domestic terrorists. It's that basic, it's that simple.
And the question is, how are we going to really almost deprogram these people?
These extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
They're not wearing masks.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories. Oversensitize them to what we have to do.
Potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
We've made it our mission to limit the spread of this disease and to limit the risks to lives and to our economy. We've been clear from the beginning that getting together in groups outside of your household that is not permitted is not allowed.
And we need to make it clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is very narrowing.
This nation, this idea called America, was and always will be a new world. Our new world.
Today we're taking steps to confront not just the gun crisis, but what is actually a public health crisis.
They're not wearing masks.
You know the old expression about snitches? Well, in this case, snitches get rewards. We want to thank you for turning folks in and making sure we are all safe.
Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work? I am.
I'ma have a love lamp in my